The stories I'm about to share with you are from The Tragedy at Devil's Hollow and Other Kentucky Ghost Stories by Michael Paul Henson. I would like to give thanks to those in assistance tonight, Mr. Chris Schaus, Ed Hughes, Clay Case, Miss Stacy Kindred, and Brody the Wonder Dog. Journey of the Ring. Daniel Busk of Barwick, Kentucky, narrated this strange tale to me in 1958. Finally called Uncle Dan at the age of 94, he could remember events 80 years past if they had happened only a few days ago. Josephine Tyler and George Thomas had been married only a few months in the spring of 1862, when George decided to join the Union Army. Leaving his young pregnant wife, he rode to Lexington, Kentucky to enlist. Young Josephine lived in a cabin near her father's property while her husband was away, and in due time, a baby son was born. A son never to be seen by his father. Everyone thought the war would be over in a few months, but the months dragged into a year, and Josie began to worry about her husband. She had received only 3 letters from him, telling of places he had been and battles in which he had fought. In his final letter, still owned by one of his descendants, George told Josie that he loved her and would see that, somehow, she would get his wedding ring if he should ever be killed. Several months passed, with no further word from George, and Josie wrote to the U.S. War Department. Imagine her surprise and anguish when they reported that George had been killed in action the previous year, over 300 miles away. Josie never actually knew had written the last letter from George, but the handwriting was the same on all 3. On a particular July night in 1865, Josie was eating supper with her brother and young son when their dogs started barking and fighting over something outside. Taking a lantern, Josie and her brother went to see the cause of the commotion and saw that the dogs were fighting over a hand, a man's hand. Josie's brother ran them off by yelling and shooting a gun in the air. When Josie reached to pick up the hand and put it out of the dog's reach, she noticed a long red scar. Her heart skipped a beat. The scar looked exactly like the one on the back of her husband's left hand. Looking closer in the light of the lantern, Josie saw a wedding band on the 3rd finger. Although trembling with fear, she removed the ring from the hand. Inside the ring were the initials GT and JT. Josie screamed in anguish. This was the ring her husband had worn when he rode off to war. Putting the hand between the 2 boards in the fence, Josie and her brother took the ring inside the house. The next morning, when they looked for the hand, it was gone. How could a man's hand possibly stay preserved for 2 years after death? Where had the hand been since George's death? How did it find its way home? Who wrote the 3rd letter saying that Josie would get her husband's ring no matter what happened to him? You never know.